Caritamrta overview by His Grace Mani Gopal Prabhu. Sorry, we are starting a little late today because there was not much, devotees, at the end, in the beginning. So now we request Indra Krishna Prabhu just come quickly and say a few words about Prabhu before we start off today's session. Indra Krishna Prabhu, please welcome.
Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam to all the devotees. It's been a great pleasure to have with us His Grace Mani Gopal Prabhu. Today is the third Friday in consecutive, so it's a great opportunity and a great honor to be able to hear our Chaitanya Caritamrta, which was Prabhupada's very favorite scripture. So Mani Gopal Prabhu has been is now well known to all of us. He's already done 2 classes, and we have seen how nicely he has presented. And I'm pretty sure a lot of devotees will be joining and have joined. And all the best to all the devotees for their nice opportunity to learn about Chaitanya Caritamrta. Today we are going to do the second part of Madhya Leela, and I think 8 chapters of Madhya Leela are done in the last class. And over to you, Mani Gopal Prabhu, without taking much time of yours. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Thank you, Jai Guru Prabhu and His Grace Indra Krishna Prabhu for letting the session start for today. Today's evening we are going to discuss from 9th chapter onwards. So I'd like to welcome all the devotees who have joined for the Chaitanya Caritamrta overview seminar. We are those who have joined today for the first time. For your kind information, we are on the 3rd week, and we are going through the Madhya Leela, where Lord Chaitanya is traveling to various places within India. So let's start with Mangalacharana. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Jaya Pataka Swami Niti Namine Namo Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradaine Gaura Katha Dhamadaya Nakaragram Tarini Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashat Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ajanulambito bhujo kanakabadato sankirtaneka pitaro kamalayataksho Vishwambharo dijaparo jugadharma palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karuna. Hare Krishna. So, as we all know that I request the host, Prabhu, to kindly allow me to share my screen. It says that your computer sound is being in share, so I'm not able to share.
Prabhu, you are the co-host, Prabhu.
Yeah,
You
but
can't.
it says that your other participants'
Ah, okay,
computer
okay,
sound
okay.
is shared.
Yes, yes. Now you can step. Sorry.
Okay. Krishna, Krishna. So we have been going through the various incidents of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life, his wonderful life. And last week we have been saying that, just to recap, that how Madhya Lila has been uh, designed. The Adi Lila is the narration about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Navadvip pastimes, and Madhya Lila is the middle 6 years when Mahaprabhu was traveling throughout various places, and Anta Lila is Mahaprabhu's intense expression of intense love towards Krishna, staying in Nilachal Puridham. And we have seen that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after taking sannyas, he went to Sri Advaita Acharya's house, and there he took a big feast arranged by Advaita Acharya and his consort Sita Thakurani. Thereafter, Mahaprabhu comes to Nilachal Puri through Remuna, where he narrated the pastimes of Madhavendra Puripad. Not exactly Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu was explaining the pastimes of Madhavendra Puripad. Nityananda Prabhu was a very dear disciple of Madhavendra Puri. How Madhavendra Puri, he went to Vrindavan and Lord Gopal would instruct him that he please travel to Utkal, that means Odisha, and collect cool sandalwood from me. And all the way from Vrindavan to Odisha, Madhavendra Puripad, he traveled over. And on the way, he went to the Gopinath temple, the famous Gopinath temple. And Lord became more famous by stealing the kheer, the condensed milk for Madhavendra Puripad. And thus, he became renowned as Kheer Chora Hari. That means the Lord Hari who has stolen kheer for his dear devotee. And from there they came to Shakshi Gopal, and there Mahaprabhu, he narrated the pastimes of Shakshi Gopal. Then they came to Dandabhanga, and Nityananda Prabhu, he had broken the sannyas danda of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into three pieces. And from there, Mahaprabhu alone, he rushed to Nilachal Puri, and Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda, Jagadananda, they all followed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as soon as Mahaprabhu entered the Nilachal Puri Dham, and he entered to the Sri Mandir, he fainted. He got fainted, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the head priest of the temple, he took Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his house. And then Mahaprabhu stayed over there for a few days. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was a Mayavadi in the beginning, he started to give a Vedanta discourse to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he, being unaware of Mahaprabhu's supreme position as Lord himself, he wanted to make him a Mayavadi sannyasi. But nothing to avail actually. After 1 week, Lord Chaitanya, he started to speak and counter argue with all the tenets of Mayavad, and he defeated Sarvam Bhattacharya like anything. And he has explained the Vedanta Sutra with his magnificent uh, counter arguments. And finally, Mahaprabhu won. And Sarva Bhattacharya, he realized that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not any ordinary human being, rather, he is the Supreme Lord himself. So then he surrendered unto the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu stayed over there for few more weeks. Then he planned to travel to various places. Actually, that was Mahaprabhu's an eversion because he wanted to deliver the fallen souls with the pretension of doing a Tirtha Yatra. Actually, Lord doesn't need to go any pilgrimage, but he took that opportunity to touch his lotus feet throughout Bharatavarsha, so that the whole Bharatavarsha become purified by by the touch of his divine lotus feet, and he could propagate the holy name of the Lord, which was his original mission when he appeared in this world. So thus Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he started his journey. He started his journey and then he came to the bank of Godavari river, and there he met Ramananda Rai, one of the most confidential devotee of Lord. And he was a very, very exalted personality, but in the guise of a king. So nobody could understood that he was actually a very elevated devotee of Lord, who had been taking care of the whole Vidyanagar region under the reign of King Prataprudra from Utkal. He was the representative of Prataprudra Maharaj in South India in that particular region. So Mahaprabhu met him and they both spent around 10 days there and had an ecstatic moment uh, for 10 days with Krishna Katha. After that, Mahaprabhu, he told Ramananda Rai, you please come to Nilachal. You please resign from your government job, come to Nilachal, and we both will sit together and chant holy name and will relish the wonderful pastimes of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, the confidential pastimes which they have exhibited in the groves of Vrindavan. So you please come to Nilachal and we both will relish Krishna Katha. So in this way, we reached upon the meeting of Ramananda Rai and Mahaprabhu on the bank of the Godavari river. So today on the 9th chapter, we'll be seeing that from there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, upon instructing Ramananda Rai, he went on his traveling throughout the South India. And in the southern part of India, as you all know that this is, sometimes it is called as Divya Desham. There are lots of wonderful places, tirthasthans, pilgrimage places in southern India. The entire 4 states, currently the 4 states, the Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, and Andhra, and the newly, I mean, the Telangana is also called as Andhra. Anyway, so Mahaprabhu would travel all these places and he would visit all the ancient temples where Lord was being worshipped by his dear devotees. So he had traveled so many places that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrta, he said that I'm not able to narrate everything because it's impossible even for the Lord Anantashesh to describe how many places Mahaprabhu has visited over there. So I'm just giving some glimpse on that. So following his footsteps, we are also saying like Mahaprabhu he traveled to Ahobilam Narsimhadev. There, wherever Mahaprabhu would go, he would have Sankirtan party, and thousands and thousands of people would join. Millions of people would join with him, and he would sing, he would dance in ecstasy. Mahaprabhu, he visited Ahobilam, he visited Rangakshetra. When he came to Ranganath Swami temple to see the beauty of Lord Ranganath, there he met the wonderful devotee called Venkat Bhatta. So that Venkat Bhatta was the father of one of the six Goswamis. His name is Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. So Raghunath Bhatta Goswami's father, I'm sorry, that was Gopal Bhatta. I'm sorry, Gopal Bhatta. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami's father was this Venkat Bhatta. And Mahaprabhu would stay in his house for 4 months, as we call that as Chaturmasha, the 4 months of rainy season. During the monsoon, usually the saintly people, they would not travel because uh, the surroundings and everything, it becomes very muddy and difficult to travel. So therefore they would sit in one place and they would concentrate on their bhajan. So Mahaprabhu stayed 4 months over there. And the whole Venkat Bhatta family, they had the good fortune to serve Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there. There he met the one of the most prominent Vaishnava during that time, Sri Vallabh Bhatta. Vallabh Bhatta or Vallabhacharya. Some of you might know that he was the founder of Pushti Marg in the line of Kumar Sampradaya. Some say that he came in the line of Kumar Sampradaya. So that Vallabh Bhatta and Mahaprabhu was contemporary. But Vallabh Bhatta, since he was not a devotee in the line of, I mean, the conjugal pastimes of Radha and Krishna, therefore Mahaprabhu would not express all his moods before this Vallabh Bhatta. He would shrunken his mood in front of him. So there Mahaprabhu stayed for some time. Then again he started to travel. So throughout his traveling, he went to Mallikarjun, one of the 12 Jyotirlinga places, Sri Shailam, Mallikarjun. Then he also went to Shiva Kanchi, Vishnu Kanchi. In Vishnu Kanchi, there's Lord Paradraj Govinda Bhagavan. It's a very, very beautiful, exquisitely beautiful deity, actually. We had the good fortune to travel that place. And at night around 9 p.m., usually that time they don't open. But somehow or other, Varadaraj Bhagavan was very much merciful, and it was mesmerizing. And I could not, take my eyes away from him. So beautiful deity. Bhagavan Varadaraj Vishnu is there. From there, 5 miles away is the Shiva Kanchi. So Lord would travel all these places in Kanchipuram. Then he would travel to Udupi. I'm not saying all these things according to, it's not in a chronological order, but whatever I can remember, I'm just trying to say. So Mahaprabhu traveled to Udupi. There he saw the beautiful deity of Udupi Gopal. And then he went to Pandharpur. He had danced in ecstasy in front of Lord Vithalnath. And in Pandharpur, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would meet one sannyasi called Rangapuri. And seeing Mahaprabhu's ecstatic symptoms in his body, this Rangapuri, he was actually the disciple of Madhavendra Puripal. So he would know that not everybody, not each and everybody can manifest this mood. That's not possible. So he was very amazed to see Mahaprabhu. And he asked about his guru and his line of parampara. Then Mahaprabhu said, then he became very happy to meet him. Then he was saying that how he met one sannyasi called Shankararanya. So Shankararanya. Mahaprabhu was asking him, can you please tell me more about Shankararanya? Then the sannyasi Rangapuri went on explaining. He said that his previous home base was in Navadip. He was the son of Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata. Then Mahaprabhu could understand that he is none other than my dear elder brother, Vishwarup. Vishwarup, when Mahaprabhu was a little child, then Vishwarup, the elder brother of Mahaprabhu, he left home. He was the student of Advaita Acharya. And from his very beginning of his life, early childhood, he was devoted to Lord Krishna. So he didn't want to get married. So he left home early and he traveled all over the India. And then he came and took sannyas in Pandharpur. He traveled, he was staying here for some time. Then Rangapuri was explaining that how this amazing personality, Shankararanya, he left his body in this place. So Mahaprabhu, according to to the social custom, he lamented for some time for this Vishwarup. That was transcendental. It's not any material lamentation, because his dear brother Vishwarup was none other than Balaram, and they both had the transcendental relationship, not like any ordinary brother sister or brothers two brothers relationship. So then Mahaprabhu visited all these places, so many other places, actually. So we are just giving you the hints, because you have to read Chaitanya Charitamrta to get to know all the history. And then Mahaprabhu finally he came to one place called Kurmakshetra. There he met one Brahmin. His name was Kurma Vipra. He was the worshipper of Lord Kurmadev. And there Mahaprabhu stayed for some time. He took prasad at his house. And later on, Mahaprabhu left the place towards his next destination. He again came back. Mahaprabhu came back because there was a interesting pastime mentioned by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, which happened in Kurmakshetra. One Brahmin, his name was Vasudev, but people would call him as a leper Vasudev because he had leprosy all over his body. That's why people would call him leper Vasudev. So Kushti Vasudev, in Bengali this Kushti Vasudev. So this Vasudev was a very ardent devotee of Lord. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Kurmakshetra, Vasudev was thinking that how can I get his darshan? But the day when Vasudev Vipra, that leper Vasudev, he got the news about Mahaprabhu's arrival in Kurmakshetra. Actually, on that same night, Mahaprabhu left the place. So when he came, next morning when he came at Kurma Vipra's house, he was asking, I came all the way. Because you can imagine how his bodily situation was. Because he was a leper person. So then he said that it's my intense desire of heart that I want to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Please help me. Then that Kurma Vipra said, oh, you unfortunate one. Actually, I feel very much sorry for you because Mahaprabhu had already left. So he would cry, he's piteously crying that, oh, I am very unfortunate. This is my manda bhagya, my bad fortune, my ill fortune that I could not get the darshan of Mahaprabhu. So then he started crying and Mahaprabhu came back. Mahaprabhu didn't go. Mahaprabhu could not go actually. So Mahaprabhu came back and he met this Vasudev again. And Vasudev was so happy. He was elated to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because his only desire in life was to see the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his heavily body pain because of that leprosy. So Mahaprabhu came, and this Vasudev, his wonderful quality was that even though he was suffering like anything because of that leprosy, he would never allow, like his body was fully full of all scars because of the leprosy, and it was all melted. His body got melted because of that chronic leprosy. And there he got lot of worms in his body. And those worms would bite those scars. And it was heavily painful for him. And whenever, as and when any worm would, any insect or worm would fall from his body, he took that back into that position on the body. Why? Because his thinking was, his mentality was that this small insignificant worm is getting the nutrition from my body by eating my flesh. So if it gets fell down in the floor on the earth, then what will he eat? Because it got birth from that scar, from that flesh. He has to eat the flesh only. Can you imagine? Oh, Krishna. This unbearable pain throughout all over his body. But still, he would not let any worm fell down from his body. So he would again put that back on his body. In this way, he was very, very compassionate to the even to an insignificant worm. Because of his compassion towards the living entity, which is one of the most amazing quality of a devotee, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very much pleased with him. So Mahaprabhu came back to see his dear devotee. And then when Mahaprabhu came, he embraced Vasudev Vipra. Vasudev was saying no, no. He was trying to stop Mahaprabhu, but Mahaprabhu didn't pay any heed. He came and with force he embraced him, Vasudev. And immediately this leper Vasudev, he turned into a very young, very handsome boy. Person, a man. His whole body became so beautiful, and not only beautiful, his body became fragrant. And the body which was before with a very stinky because of the leprosy, it turned into a body with flower fragrance, with chandan fragrance. So that was the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he gave to that Vasudev. But that Vasudev Vipra, he says that Mahaprabhu, I was very happy with my previous condition. I was so happy because that forced me to remain humble. Because I am a leper person, nobody would come to me, and everyone who was ignoring me, they were humiliating me because of my situation, and that helped me to remain submissive and humble, meek and humble. But now I'll become puffed up because of my physical beauty. Why did you make me like this? Mahaprabhu said, no, it will never happen to you. I know you are my dear devotee. Even if you have this physical beauty, you'll never turn as a popped up person. So don't worry. In this way, Mahaprabhu delivered this Vasudev, and that's how Mahaprabhu was well known with a special name. His name was Vasudevamrita Prada. It's been mentioned in Chaitanya Caritamrta. One who has given Amrita or nectar to Vasudeva. So Mahaprabhu's name became Vasudevamrita Prada. Prada means one who gives. Amrita is nectar. So he gave nectar. What nectar? His embrace. His embrace like nectar he had given to Vasudeva. So in this way, Mahaprabhu traveled, and then also he traveled to Ananta Padmanabh Swami. Like that, all the holy places Mahaprabhu visited. So that is being discussed in chapter 9. We'll see in chapter 10 that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he returned to Jagannath Puri after completing his South Indian tour. So when Mahaprabhu came back to Jagannath Puri, he met various devotees over there again. So I just pointed few of them, very, notable. That's why I have mentioned about it. But to get the overall idea, you have to read the whole chapter. So Mahaprabhu there, he met, for the first time, he met Bhavananda Rai and his 5 sons. This Bhavananda Rai, who was the father of Ramananda Rai, the personality whom Mahaprabhu met in Vidyanagar. You might be remembering, we have just now have discussed about him few minutes before, in Godavari, in the bank of Godavari. So this Bhavananda Rai, he had 5 sons, and one of them was Ramananda Rai. Another like Paninath and other sons are there. So they all came to Nilachal to stay in Nilachal with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it has been stated that this Bhavananda Rai was actually Maharaj Pandu. He was Maharaj Pandu in the age of Dwapar Yuga. And these 5 sons were actually Pancha Pandava. And among them, Ramananda Rai was Arjuna, the most dear friend of Krishna. Anyway, Ramananda Rai has, he is combination of few other percentages like Arjuna Sakhin Vrindavan and also Vishakha Sakhin. So Mahaprabhu met them, and they became very happy to be able to stay with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Nilachal. Mahaprabhu would also meet one of his very dear associate called Swarup Damodar. This Swarup Damodar was previously named as Purushottam Acharya, and he was Mahaprabhu's contemporary in Navadvip. And he was like sort of Mahaprabhu's classmate actually. He was studying with Mahaprabhu over there in Navadvip. But we don't hear his name very much during Mahaprabhu's Navadvip Lila. But he had a deep love for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, deep down his heart. So what happened when Mahaprabhu took sannyas, this Purushottam Acharya thought that I don't want to live in this place. Let me change the place. Where should I go? I should move to Nilachal, because I cannot survive without my Lord of life, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this devotee also moved to Nilachal Puri Dham. And he also took sannyas. And he became famous as Swarup Damodar. There's a long history how this name he got. Anyway, we are not going to that point now. So this Swarup Damodar, when he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu was unlimitedly happy seeing him in Nilachal. So finally you reached Nilachal. So I don't want to leave you anymore. So you please be with me. And Swarup Damodar said, yes, my dear Lord, I came to stay with you only. So Swarup Damodar was so dear to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he became the chief secretary of Lord Chaitanya. How many of you know that who was the secretary of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? I don't know. So if you are not aware of that, today you can get the information. Everyone is secretary, right? Like Prabhupada would have secretary. Our current acharyas, gurus, they have secretaries. So who was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's secretary? In Nilachal, that was none other than Swarup Damodar. So Swarup Damodar became secretary of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the qualification of a secretary should be, he should know the heart of his worshipable Lord or his master. So Swarup Damodar would know the very heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That was his first class qualification. One of the qualification of the Uttama Shishya, the topmost disciple is, first class disciple is, that he knows the heart of the spiritual master, or as a servitor, he knows the heart of his worshipable deity, master, Lord. So Sarup Damodar would know that. And he was so expert in Bhakti Siddhanta, uh, the conclusion of all the scriptures, that as and when somebody would come to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to read out something, because probably they have composed some poem or song like that, so they would come to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or some commentary on some books. So they would first go and meet with Sarup Damodar, because Sarup Damodar was the gate, the entrance. If Sarup Damodar approves, then only you can go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That was the system, because Mahaprabhu could not tolerate any rasabhas. Rasabhas is something which is when you compose or you say, you talk something which is not aligned with the conclusion of the transcendental mellows uh, of Krishna Prema. That's called rasabhas. It sounds okay, but when you meticulously think of it, consider it, it's not matching, it's not in line with the Siddhanta. That's why it is rejected. So Sharup Damodar would check that. If anyone would compose something which is full of rasa, which is any tinge of rasavas, reject it. They would not let them go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and read it. Never. So there are many pastimes with Sarup Damodar. Anyway, so Sarup Damodar, he became Mahaprabhu's like shadow. Wherever Mahaprabhu was, Sarup Damodar should be there. And he was a very mature personality, and he could arrange everything so efficiently that Mahaprabhu could rely fully upon him. He was expert in management. He was expert in dealing with people. He was expert in how to arrange Mahaprabhu's rest, Mahaprabhu's prasad, everything he could take care of, Sarup Damodar. So this Sarup Damodar is actually is the incarnation of Lalita Devi. So Ramananda Rai is the incarnation of Vishakha from Brajalila, and Sarup Damodar is the incarnation of Lalita Shakhi. So these both devotees, Sarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda, you can well imagine how dear they would be to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Lalita and Vishakha and Mahaprabhu is Srimati Radharani, in the mood of Radharani. So Lalita and Vishakha are the dearmost girlfriend of Srimati Radharani. So Sarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai would always be with Mahaprabhu in Nilachal Puritama. And another wonderful incident also mentioned in this 10th chapter is that Govinda, Mahaprabhu's god brother, Govinda and Kashishwar Pandit, both of them, Kashishwar Brahmachari and Govinda Das, they both were Mahaprabhu's god brother actually, because they took initiation from Srila Ishwarpuri, who was the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Govinda and Kashishwar were the servants of Ishwarpuri during the last days of Ishwarpuri's life. So when Ishwarpuri was leaving this world, that time he ordered this Govinda and Kashishwar, you please go to Nilachal and serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Serve my dear disciple Lord Chaitanya. Though he is my disciple, but he is actually none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's my order that you please go to Nilachal after I leave my body and serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they came and they met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they fall flat with prostrated pranam, and they put their request before Mahaprabhu that we want to serve him. So upon hearing that they are his god brother, Mahaprabhu did not actually agree to accept them as his servants, because god brothers, one should not engage god brothers as a servant. That's a Vedic culture, and it's not proper. It's an improper behavior to engage some god brother in somebody's personal service, for somebody's personal service. So Mahaprabhu requested Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that you are a big Pandit, you are a scholar, you are a very person with discretion. You please instruct me, what should I do? Because it's Guru's order and they are my god brother. So I'm in a dilemma. So please help me out. So Sharum Bhattacharya, he came forward to help Chaitanya Mahaprabhu out. And he said that, uh, you see, my dear Lord, uh, even though these two devotees are your god brother, so according to the proper etiquette, you should not accept them as your servant. But Guru Agya, the order of the Guru, is much more important than etiquette. So for the time being, you please ignore the etiquette and accept your Guru's order and thus engage them in your service. And that is a fantastic conclusion, decision given by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And Mahaprabhu was very happy to accept that. And from that day onwards, Govinda became the personal servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So please note, Swarup Damodar was the secretary, personal secretary, and Govinda was personal servant. These two are different things, it's not same. He was like always with Mahaprabhu to look after what he needs. And Kashishwar Pandit or Kashishwar Brahmachari, he became Mahaprabhu's bodyguard because his physique was heavy and he was a muscle man. So whenever Mahaprabhu would go to Jagannath Puri, there would be millions of people, thousands of people were rushing. And Kashishwar Brahmachari's duty was to protect Mahaprabhu from all this crowd, to pull and push and take Mahaprabhu forward during the Rath Yatra, during his visit to the temple. Thus they became Mahaprabhu's servant. And then also Mahaprabhu met his spiritual uncle, Brahmananda Bharati. Brahmananda Bharati was the god brother of Ishwarpuri. He was also disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Therefore, he was the god brother of Ishwarpuri and thus spiritual uncle of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He also came to Nilachal and he wanted to stay with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's some special pastime about him, and we are not going to that right now. There are actually Chaitanya Caritamrta is like a deep ocean. If you just be on the superficial level, you may not be able to grasp what amazing gems this ocean have inside of him. So we are just trying to go through the some of the points of each chapter. Let's see in the next chapter the description about Mahaprabhu's Beda Kirtan. Beda Kirtan means when the Mahaprabhu dance before Lord Jagannath during the Rath Yatra, and there would be 4 groups surrounding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Beda in Bengali, its meaning is like a fence. So they would make a fence around Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there would have 4 different groups surrounding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They would have kirtan and dancing. On the middle, Mahaprabhu would dance. He would dance. So the beautiful narration in Chaitanya Charitamrita about this Beda Kirtan. This is one of my most favorite chapter also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu's Beda Kirtan pastimes. So there Mahaprabhu, as it is mentioned, বেড়ানৃত্য মহাপ্রভু করি কতক্ষণ মন্দিরেরও পাছে রহি করে কীর্তন চারিদিকে চারি সম্প্রদায় উচ্চস্বরে গায় মধ্যে মধ্যে তাণ্ডব নৃত্য করে গৌররায় হরিব. After circumambulating the temple, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for some time remained at the rear of the temple and continued his Sankirtan. On all 4 sides, the 4 Sankirtana groups chanted very loudly, and in the middle, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, jumping high. Tandav Nritta. You know, Tandav Nritta actually is the dancing of Shivaji, Lord Shivaji. Shivaji, he does this Caitanya at the time of annihilation. But here Mahaprabhu danced in such a with such an intense mood that it would seem like it would seem as a Lord Shiva's dance. So that Vedanitya pastimes is being described in this chapter. And the next chapter, the 12th chapter, is a description of Mahaprabhu's Gundicha temple, cleaning of Gundicha temple. This happens, as many of you know, that this special festival happens at the previous day of Rath Yatra, when Lord Jagannath would travel in the cart, Rath Yatra cart, Ratha cart from Sri Mandir, which is Nilachal, to Sundarachal. Gundicha Mandir is called as Sundarachal. So in that Gundicha temple, this is named after the wife of Maharaj Indradumna, whose name was Gundicha Devi. So the whole year, this temple would remain empty. Therefore, there would be so many dust and spider webs. So therefore, they would go and clean the place, because Lord would come in this place and stay for the next 7 days. As you all know, when Rath Yatra happens, Lord Jagannath would go to his Mashir Bari, his aunt's house. So this Gundicha temple is called as aunt's house. So Mahaprabhu took all the devotees to Gundicha temple, and he engaged everyone. There were thousands of devotees were there. And Mahaprabhu would engage them, Mahaprabhu would appoint them. You clean this portion, you go to that part, you go to the upper walls, and you clean here on the floor. You go and bring water, you go and get some broom, and you clean this area. So like that, Mahaprabhu would appoint, engage everyone. After assigning all the duty, it's not like that Mahaprabhu would sit idle. He himself would go for cleaning. That's the symptom of a leader. Leader just doesn't sit idle and go on ordering. No. He, by his own example, he should show that you have to serve by your own hands. So Mahaprabhu would also clean the temple. So this Gundicha temple cleaning is another wonderful pastime, which actually, I mean, it's beautiful, so beautiful that it's hard to resist oneself to go on telling about that, but we have a time restraint, so we are not going to that. Nirmala Shitala Snigdha Korilo Mandir Apano Hidaya Jano Dhorilo Bahir. Mahaprabhu would order them, you must clean the temple in such a way that as if your own heart, how you want to clean your own heart. Similarly, you should clean the temple. So the devotee who would gather more dirt, Mahaprabhu would appreciate them, because it is the symptom, it is evident that you have really sincerely worked to clean the temple. But if someone would not do that, and their dirt or dust, whatever they have accumulated, a lesser in amount, Mahaprabhu would say, no, you haven't worked properly. This is why you have only this much dust. So like that, Mahaprabhu would chastise, and you should clean the temple very nicely. So beautiful pastime was there. Anyway, we're not going to that. The next chapter is going to describe about the next day after Gundicha temple cleaning. What is the next day? Rath Yatra Mahotsav ki jai. So Mahaprabhu, this chapter narrates about Mahaprabhu's ecstatic dancing in front of the Rath Yatra, in front of the Rath. সাত ঠাই বলে প্রভু হরি হরি বলি, জয় জগন্নাথ বলেন হস্ত যুগ তুলি, আর এক শক্তি প্রভু করিলা প্রকাশ, এককালে সাত ঠাই করিলা বিলাস, সবে কহে প্রভু আছেন মোর সম্প্রদায়, অন্য ঠাই নাহি যায় আমারও দয়ায়. What happened actually, when Lord Jagannath would come out, you know, the Pahandi Vijay. Many of you might have been knowing about that Pahandi Vijay, how Lord Jagannath comes. There will be a cotton, what do you call, cotton pillow, and Mahaprabhu, Lord Jagannath in Puri, Puri Dham, they call Jagannath as Mahaprabhu even today. So Mahaprabhu Jagannath would come and sit in each of these pillows, and it would burst, and all the cotton would fly away. So like that, Lord Jagannath, he would take the seat on the Rath Yatra, on the Rath, and devotee would started to pull Rath. And sometime Mahaprabhu would dance behind the Rath Yatra cart, and sometime he would dance before the cart. So what Mahaprabhu did, he made 7 groups. 4 groups should dance and sing before the cart. 1 group, 2 groups on each side of the Rathya, and 1 group should dance and sing behind the cart. So 4, 2, 6, and 1, 7. Thus he made 7 groups. 4, 2, 1. 4, 2, 1, 7. And this 7 group would consist of 1 main singer and 5 chorus. 5 chorus with 1 main singer and 2 mridanga players and 4 kartal players. So that would consist 1 group. I mean, that is the main part, and others can also join, but that should be the main element of that group. In this way, Mahaprabhu made 7 wonderful groups, and all of them were very expert in kirtan and dancing. There are 4 special dancers. Mahaprabhu would appoint them. Who were there? Nityananda Prabhu, Haridas Thakur, Bakreshwar, and Advaita Acharya. They would sing and they would dance in 4 groups. 4 groups, front, 2 side, and back. And these 7 groups, while they were chanting the name of Jagannath Swami and Hare Krishna Mahamantra, they were singing, they were dancing. What Mahaprabhu did, Mahaprabhu would dance, go and dance in each group, one after another, one after another, one after another. But Mahaprabhu, here it is mentioned that actually he exhibited another mystic power. What is that mystic power? What was the result of that mystic power? Everyone could see that Mahaprabhu is actually dancing in all 7 groups. Everyone could see that. So Mahaprabhu, he manifested 7 forms at a time, and he would dance in each group. And each group would see, no, Mahaprabhu is only in my group. They don't have Mahaprabhu in their group. So Mahaprabhu is so merciful to our group that he is dancing in our group. So like that, he would inspire everyone. So it's a, I mean, sometimes we say that we by seeing as some Mahaprasad item, we call it as a mouth-watering items because it's so delicious. So this pastime is also sort of mouth-watering. One cannot resist themselves to go on reading this amazing pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he danced in front of the Rath Yatra cart. And Mahaprabhu would manifest, he would exhibit different sort of transcendental mellows. He would talk to Jagannath Dev, and nobody could understand except Sarup Damodar, who could understand, who could realize Mahaprabhu's mood. Anyway, let's move on. What to do? It's a 3 days, 4 days seminar. You have to squeeze everything and skip out so many things. Anyway, so that chapter 14 is the narration about how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during the Rath Yatra, the Ratha cart would come to the place called Balagandi Garden. That Balagandi Garden or Jagannath Vallabh Garden is on the way from Sri Mandir to Gundecha Mandir. This is a very beautiful place with nice scenic beauty. And the Rath would stop over there and Mahaprabhu would go and take rest in that Uddan. Uddan means the place which is full of all beautiful vines, trees, like that, and lakes. So that Jagannath Vallabh garden is still famous in Jagannath Puri. And that place is still very cool. If you go there, if you have any chance to visit the place, if you go, you'll see it's very cool and soothing place. So Mahaprabhu, so you can well imagine that how beautiful it was 500 years ago. So Mahaprabhu would take rest for some time in that place, and the Ratha cart would stop there, and all the people would bring bhoga to offer to Lord Jagannath in that place. So meanwhile, Mahaprabhu would take rest, and King Prataprudra, he would come in a very simple dress, not a king-like dress. He would give up his kingly dress, and with a very simple loin cloth, he would come and serve Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. He would massage Mahaprabhu's feet, and he would sing Jayati te dikam janmana braja Shrayata indira Shashwadatrahi. In this way, he would sing the whole Gopikit song, Stavakatham Tapta Jivan. So Mahaprabhu became so happy. He was so pleased to hear this song from Prataprudra Maharaj that he did not consider whether who was he. So as if Mahaprabhu didn't know this personality, he would embrace Prataprudra Maharaj. And he would say, you are Vurida, Furida, because Vurida means one who is the best, what do you call as one who is the best charitable person. So you are the Vurida. The best charitable person is he who distributes Krishna Katha, who speaks Krishna Katha. He is the best charitable person because he gives the relief to the heart. Because the heart, which is burning because of the material desires. For Brajavashis, it's different. Their burning heart is due to the separation from Krishna. And our burning heart is due to the separation from Krishna. So the burning heart of a conditioned soul can only be extinguished. The fire can be extinguished by the mercy of Krishna Katha. So one who gives Krishna Katha, he is the best person. Is the best charitable person because that is the best charity, best dana. If you can speak Krishna Katha to uplift other people in the consciousness of Lord Krishna. So when Prataprudra Maharaj was singing this Gopi Gate song from this is the excerpt from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahaprabhu became so elated that he considered this Prataprudra that he is now helping me to come out of the separation from Krishna. Because the pangs of separation from Krishna is so intense that sometimes the devotee thinks that better I die, but I cannot tolerate this separation from Krishna. But as soon as one speaks Krishna Katha, that intense separation from Krishna, it becomes extinguished. It becomes cooled down because of Krishna Katha. That's the nature of Krishna Katha. You can see, practically speaking, in your life, whenever even some anxiety or some frustration is there in your life or some despondency, you just go on hearing about Krishna and you'll see how beautiful it is, how soothing it is. You would forget everything in the whole universe and you could nicely concentrate on Lord Krishna. So therefore, he is the best person. Bhurida, Bhuri means to give something, and da means one who gives. Bhuri means prachur, a lot, ample. And da means one who gives in ample amount, is Bhuri. So thus Mahaprabhu was praising this King Prataparudra. Usually the sannyasi would never see, what to speak of touching the king, but he would never see the face of a king. And that's the standard Mahaprabhu would maintain. He would never see the Vishayi Raja, because the Raja, the king, is a materialistic person, full of materialistic desires. But Prataparudra Maharaj was not like that. Prataparudra Maharaj uh, was a special personality, definitely. So, because he was a dear devotee of Krishna, he was so elevated that he wanted to commit suicide if Mahaprabhu would not allow him to see his lotus feet. Such was his dedication to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. However, Mahaprabhu would never allow him. But only in this incident, he took the opportunity with the advice of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said that this is the best opportunity, best moment, my dear king. Please go and serve the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. Go and massage. I request if somebody's mic is unmuted, kindly mute yourself so that others don't feel disturbance. So then Prataparudra Maharaj would go and he massaged Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet, and Mahaprabhu gave him a big hug and he embraced him with deep love. And thus Prataparudra Maharaj became very fortunate by getting Mahaprabhu's embrace. So in the next chapter, we see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took prasadam at Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he would invite Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and may I request the host Prabhu to kindly mute, because I am sharing my screen. I don't know who is that. Kindly mute Prabhu, one whose mic is in unmute mode. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the head priest of Jagannath temple, he invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we have heard his pastimes before, how he wanted to argue with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his Vedanta philosophy, but finally he accepted defeat and he became a very virtuous Vaishnava. So he invited Mahaprabhu in his house, and he and his good wife, they made so many preparations for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu, he sat to take the prasad, to honor the Mahaprasad. And right that moment, the son-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was a very envious person, he was a Brahmin, but he was envious in heart. He came and he peeped through the window, and he saw that, oh, this man, this so-called sannyasi, according to him, the so-called sannyasi, he is taking so much of prasadam. How can he eat like a voracious person? So he became very upset and he started to talk all nonsense about Mahaprabhu. Upon hearing this, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became so angry, because it's my good fortune. How fortunate we are uh, to invite the Supreme Person of Godhead in our home to feed prasadam, and this rascal is committing offense by saying all bad things. So he yelled at him. He took a stick and he ran behind this boy. His name was Amog, his son-in-law. So this, he ran away, and Mahaprabhu was smiling. Oh, he said, never mind, it's okay. He's a young boy. He doesn't know. So please leave him. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was lamenting, oh Krishna, oh my dear Lord, I have invited you now today in my house to take prasad, and this my full rascal son-in-law, he came and he blasphemed you. Please excuse me, my dear Lord. Mahaprabhu said, no, I didn't mind about that at all. He is like your son, so a small boy. Please forgive him. So what happened that Amo, when he went back to home, so he was contacted with cholera, because that was his karma phal. Because he blasphemed Lord, so immediately he got the reaction. So he was down with cholera, and that time cholera was very dangerous disease. People would die in cholera. So Amog was so sick that he could not move even. So Mahaprabhu himself went to Amog's house and he pacified Amog. Amog, you are a nice Brahmin boy. Your heart is so pure because you are a Jiva, and Jiva is in his constitutional position, he is always pure. So why did you allow envy? Envy is the worst thing one can have in his life. Why did you give shelter envy into your pure heart? So please remove the envious mentality from your heart. Please do not get envious to anybody. That's the worst thing if somebody is envious. And if somebody is envious, he can never do bhakti in his life. He has no hope because Krishna never likes any envious person. So please take out all the enviousness from your heart and again remain pure. So thus Mahaprabhu pacified him, and Amok could understand his mistake. So he begged, he fell flat at Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. He cried a lot and he said, Prabhu, please forgive me. I could not understand. I didn't understand your glories. So then he got again well, and thus Mahaprabhu also requests Sarvataji, please forgive your son-in-law. So the next chapter is being described. It has been described about Lord's attempt to go to Vrindavan, and there's some wonderful pastime with the Gadadhar Pandit. Is also the Gadadhar Pandit wanted to go with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu said, no, you have to stay back because you are serving Gopinath. Gadadhar Pandit was serving Gopinath over there. So it's a nice pastime, but we are not going to that now. Lakho lakho lok aishe taha dekhibare, tare dekhi punaropi chaite na re ghare, সেই সব লোক হয় বাউলেরও প্রায়, কৃষ্ণ কহি নাচে কান্দে গড়াগড়ি যায়. Millions of people would come to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But just by seeing Mahaprabhu, they could not go back. They could not go back to their home because they were mesmerized with the beauty of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they wanted to stay back with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And all of them, what would they do? They became baul. Baul means crazy, madmen. They become pagal. And they all are singing what? Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari. They would all sing like that. And they could not go back to home. They are crying, nache, they are dancing, kande, crying, and they roll on the ground. And the next chapter is the narration about how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he travels to Vrindavan. The previous chapter is the attempt to go to Vrindavan, but he could not go. Instead, he came to Navadip back, and then Vidyanagar, then Kulyagram, to pacify the Navadip, the resident of Navadip, because they would not see, many of them would not see Mahaprabhu for a long time. And then finally in the 17th chapter, Mahaprabhu, he travels to Vrindavan. Vrindavane hoilo Prabhu, jateko premero vikar, koti granthe ananto likheno taharo vistar. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying that Lord Ananta writes millions of books elaborately describing the transformations of ecstatic love experienced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Vrindavan. So what to speak of me, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying, how can I narrate, how can I describe Mahaprabhu's unlimited pastimes, what he exhibited in Vrindavan? Just by saying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the tigers, the lions, the serpents, the elephants, the deers, the crocodiles, everywhere, whoever was there, on the land or on the water, all the ferocious animal would become very peaceful, and they would all raise their hand and roar with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They could not tell Hare Krishna, but they would roar in bliss. And it has been described that the deer and tiger or lion were embracing each other. They forgot all of their enviousness of heart. I mean, the tiger would forget that. Usually, tiger they accept, they take the deer as their victim, as their food, but they forget. The tiger would forget all enviousness towards the deer, and they would all embrace. That was the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can see in the picture how all the animals in the forest, they were chanting with Mahaprabhu. The next chapter is description about Mahaprabhu's visit uh, throughout various places. The previous chapter was the journey, and the 18th chapter is Mahaprabhu's pastimes, various visits to Radha Kund, Sham Kund, Giri Govardhan. Then Mahaprabhu converted some Pathan. Pathan means Mohammedans. Mahaprabhu, he met some Mohammedan, and they all became convinced, seeing Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love, and they all became Vaishnava. So there Mahaprabhu, seeing Govardhan hill, he would fainted, he got fainted, fell unconscious. And Mahaprabhu was crying piteously for Krishna in seeing Govardhan and Radha. The next chapter describes about Mahaprabhu's, he is coming back from Vrindavan, and on his way back to Nilachal, he stopped over uh, Prayagraj. And in the Prayagraj, he met Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is the most prominent acharya in our Gaudiya Vaishnava line. And he would meet Rupa Goswami there. Rupa Goswami and his brother Anupam. Both of them, they fall flat at Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. And Mahaprabhu took him to the Dashashramedh Ghat in Prayagraj. And 10 days Mahaprabhu gave him various instructions and spiritual conclusions about the Vedic philosophy. Based on that, Rupa Goswami would write his books, which are very famous books. Some of them are Padeshamrita, Nectar of Instruction, then Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, and many other books, Ujjal Nilmani, Vidagdha Madhav, Lolita Madhav, Dan Keli Komodi, Hangsadutam. So many books Rupa Goswami has written on the basis of the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the next 4 chapters, the next 5 chapters actually, is the narration about Mahaprabhu's teachings to Sanatan Goswami. Mahaprabhu met Sanatan in Varanasi. In Benares, when Mahaprabhu came, Sanatan Goswami met Mahaprabhu over there in the house of Tapan Mishra, and Mahaprabhu took him around almost 2 months through the Vedic philosophy, all Vedic Siddhanta, conclusions of all Vedic literatures. Mahaprabhu would give to Sanatan Goswami so that in future he can write numerous books on our Vedic philosophy. So these 4-5 chapters are the narration about whatever the Sanatan Shiksha, the instructions to Sanatan Goswami, is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Is described in this chapter. And on the last chapter of Madhya Lila, Mahaprabhu, he in Varanasi, how he turned all the Advaitavadi, the Mayavadi sannyasis into Vaishnava. That narration is being given in the 25th chapter, the last chapter of Madhya Lila. The devotees, his name was Chandrasekhar Vaidya and Tapan Mishra. This Chandrasekhar Vaidya and Tapan Mishra, they were very dear associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they are the only Vaishnava in Benares at that time. And the whole Benares was full of Mayavadis. They are all monists, and they would not believe in Lord's deity form. And they would always criticize Mahaprabhu because he is dancing, singing, crying, and going unconscious like a madman. So they would all criticize. So therefore, Mahaprabhu, he stayed over there because while going towards Vrindavan, they requested Chandrasekhar and Tapan Mishra, they requested Mahaprabhu, please deliver us from this fools and rascals of Benares. Mahaprabhu, he said, okay, let's see what is Krishna's plan. So while Mahaprabhu was coming back from Vrindavan, he again stayed over Varanasi, and he met the chief of the Mayavadi sannyasis. His name was Prakashananda Saraswati. So that Prakashananda was a very notorious criticizer of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So critic of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he would always blaspheme Mahaprabhu, saying all nonsense things, that he is a young boy, he doesn't know anything, uh, he doesn't know the conclusion of all the Vedic scripture. Therefore, like a bhabuk, like a madman, like an sentimentalist, he's always singing, dancing. But when he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the first meeting, first encounter with Prakashananda Saraswati, he won over their heart by his humbleness. And Mahaprabhu would go and wash his feet, and he would sit on the place where all the sannyasis, they would wash their feet. They had washed their feet in that place, and Mahaprabhu would go and sit in that place. So seeing that the sannyasis, they became so amazed that he's a sannyasi, but he's so humble. And then Mahaprabhu exhibited some he exhibited some bodily effulgence, because he is the source of Brahma Jyoti. So aham what is that? Brahmana pratishtaham, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So then they would have a big discussion, a long discussion, and finally Mahaprabhu defeat them, cut off all their arguments of monism, Advaitavad, and Mahaprabhu established that Krishna Bhakti is the best thing, is the topmost in all respect. So therefore, one should surrender unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So thousands of sannyasis, these Mayavadi sannyasis, they realized, they came back to their senses. Oh, they understood, oh, no, this Sri Krishna Chaitanya is not only, he is not an ordinary human being. Actually, he is the Lord himself. Vedamoy Murti Tumi Shakkha Narayan Khamay Aparad Purve Je Koilu Nindan. They understood that he is none other than Lord Narayan. So they fall flat at Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. They begged for his forgiveness. You just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And you can immediately get Krishna prema. So by Mahaprabhu's mercy, they all became Vaishnava. So the whole Varanasi, the whole Benares became Vaishnava. Thousands of Mayavadi sannyasis, just by seeing Mahaprabhu speaking to him, they all became Vaishnava. And Chandrasekhar and Tapan Mishra was so happy that Mahaprabhu, we are eternally indebted to you, because you made the whole Benares as Vrindavan. Because now it's not a place of Advaitins, it's a place of Vaishnavas. So everyone is singing the glories of Krishna. And Mahaprabhu took all the Mayavadi sannyasis, who were previously Mayavadi, now they all became Vaishnava, and Mahaprabhu would take all of them in street Sankirtan, Nagar Sankirtan. Come with me and chant the holy name of Krishna. In this way, the whole Benares became devotee of Krishna. So thus ends the Madhya Lila. So we have tried to give a synopsis of the whole Madhya Lila. We'll just quickly go through what we have seen in Madhya Lila on the first chapter. Please, one second. Yeah, we have seen the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the ecstatic manifestations of Mahaprabhu in the second chapter. Then third chapter is visit to Advaita Acharya's house and pastimes of Madhavendra Puripad in the next chapter. You may kindly ignore the image on the right side. That's called Adilila, but it's actually Madhya. So wonderful pastimes of Shakshi Gopal in the next chapter. Then Sam Bhattacharya's liberation. Then Lord starts his tour in South India. Then he met his meet up with Ramananda Rai. The next chapter, Mahaprabhu travels to the holy places. These chapters we discussed today already. Sorry. Then Lord's return to Jagannath Puri, Beda Kirtan, cleansing of the Gundicha temple, ecstatic dancing, Vrindavan pastimes. Then Sarvabhatta Church's feast. Lord attempts to go to Vrindavan, and then sorry. The next chapter 17 is not there. There is a mistake. Okay. No. Then 20 to 20 is Mahaprabhu's instruction to Sanatana Goswami. 17, 18, 19 are the mistakes. I'm sorry for that. So 20 to 24 is Mahaprabhu's instruction to Sanatana Goswami, Science of Absolute Truth. And chapter 25, how all became Vaishnava. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrta ki jai, Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Jagat Guru Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Thank you very much, Manigopal Prabhu, for the wonderful session. Would you like to take a few quick questions, Prabhu?
Yes,
I know you
definitely.
have a class. Yeah.
Definitely.
Devotees, if you have any quick questions, you can post or you can unmute yourself and ask Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Pranam Mataji.
Prabhuji, wanted to know what is the qualification required, especially when we have to give Krishna Katha. Because we have been hearing, but sometimes we feel that we are not qualified at all because we have to learn so much. There's so much glorification which is there for Krishna and his pastimes. And I feel that I'm not at all qualified for that. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Okay, Hare Krishna. If you see in the Bhagavatam first canto, first chapter, text number 5 to 9, if you go through these verses, there's a very wonderful description by Sutta Goswami that what are the qualifications of the Bhagavata speaker or the Hari Katha. So there's a description, you can specifically refer to that. However, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Jare Dekho Tare Koho Krishna Upadesh and Amar Aggay Guru Hoya Taro Edesh. So I have heard from my Guru Maharaj that, and also from Srila Prabhupada, he has many times mentioned in his books that you go on preaching, whatever you know, you preach to others. So one time one disciple asked Prabhupada, you always ask us to preach, but I don't know anything. How can I preach? Prabhupada said, you don't know anything? He said, no. Prabhupada said, okay, who is Lord Krishna? Who is Lord? So then the disciple said, Krishna. Then Prabhupada asked that, who are you? Oh, I am Krishna's servant. I am Krishna's eternal servant. And then Prabhupada said, what is your duty then? Being a servant, I have to serve Krishna. That's my duty. Prabhupada said, if you know these three things, then you are eligible to preach. So go on preaching, because 99.9% population of the world, they do not know who are they, who is Lord, and what is the relationship with them. So go and tell them about these three things. You should awake them from their this sleeping state. They are sleeping because of this, under the spell of Maya. So you should wake them up and just go and tell them, my dear friend, please do not sleep like a bear, polar bear. Wake up and take up Krishna consciousness. That much only you tell. And whatever you have heard in that portion of Srimad Bhagavatam, first chapter, what I just now mentioned, you'll see one word is there. I forgot the word right now. The word is not coming into my mind. But the meaning is that one who has heard properly from the previous acharyas. So if you have heard properly from the previous acharyas and you have the intention not to twist the meaning or not to distort what acharya says, then you are eligible to preach. So you just take up the message from your previous acharya and go and tell them. But one thing you should keep it in your mind, that while preaching, always think that all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Vaishnavas, all glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of them, because of the energy, the empowerment they have given to me, I'm eligible to preach. And I'm eligible to speak, render some service. One should not take Harikatha like a media to pose himself or herself. Harikatha is a seva, it's a service. So one should render this service. While rendering this service, that's why we do the Mangalacharan. Mangalacharan means we invoke the blessings of our previous acharyas, our Guru and Parampara, Vaishnavas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Panchatattva, and after all, Lord Krishna. So all this, with all these blessings, we are representing the Parampara acharyas. So based on the Shastra, we can say that the first qualification is that you are ready to represent the acharyas. That's the first qualification. And the next is that don't distort the meaning or don't distort their wordings. Exactly present whatever they said, but with your little bit realization. Whatever realization you got, you speak through your realization. Then it will touch the heart of the audience. If you just speak like a machine, nobody will take that seriously. Srimad Gaur Govinda Maharaj would say, don't give lip service just by talking through your lips. No, you should express, you should take out your heart and give it to others. And on top of everything, we can consider Mahaprabhu's instructions that this is my order. On the previous week, we were discussing Ekala Malakarami, Kaha Kaha Jabo, Ekalaba Koto Fall, Pariya Bilav. So it's my instruction. You go and preach. So Amar Aggai Guru hai, Amar Aggai. If you follow my instruction, then you are eligible to preach. But don't preach independently. That you think that, okay, I'm the big boss, I know everything, I'm a big scholar. No. Whatever big scholar you may become, but you should always think that I am the lowest servant of my Guru and the Vaishnavas. And in that mood, if we preach, it will be successful. We hope that. Hare Krishna. We can say so many things, but it's not a time to go on describing all this. Hare Krishna.
Devotees, any other questions? Prabhu has got another class in another 10 minutes. He will be with us for maximum 10 minutes. If you have any question, please unmute and ask. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Pranam, Prabhu.
Pranam.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you so much for such nectarian Gaur Katha, Prabhu. We have relished a lot. I have a question, Prabhu. You might have said also my network is not very good here.
Is that Vaijayanti Rukmini Mataji? Sounds
yes,
like
yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu from Guwahati.
Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Rukmini Nath Prabhu.
You have identified us, Prabhu.
Thank you,
your
Prabhu.
voice is famous.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Prabhuji, I have a question. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had traveled so many places, Vrindavan, South India, but why did he choose to stay most of the time in Jagannath Puri, Prabhu? Is there any particular reason behind that?
Oh,
Why
Mataji,
not in
please,
Vrindavan, not in Navadvip?
please do not open another chapter.
Okay.
This is a long chapter why Mahaprabhu stayed in Jagannath Puri, and that's very esoteric. But to say a few words on that, it would take another few hours to describe why Nilachal Puri Dham is so special. Anyway, we can see the external reason is that Sachimata, Mother Sachi, he requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that please don't go to Vrindavan because Vrindavan is very far from Bengal. If you go there, then I cannot get any news about you. So I want a regular update about your stay in wherever you are there. So better is you go to Nilachal because Nilachal and Bengal and Odisha, these both are considered as Mayapur and Nilachalpur is considered as the two rooms in the same house. It is mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat. So it doesn't take much time. It would take hardly 1 month, 1 month to travel from Mayapur to Nilachal. But that 1 month was by very less time for them. And Vrindavan would take maybe, I don't know, maybe 5-6 months. So Sachimata requested Mahaprabhu, please stay in Nilachal so that I could get a regular update how you are doing over there. So that's the external reason. And the internal reason we can say that Nilachal Puri Dham, as per the statement of Sri Srimad Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj, that Nilachal Puri is the place of Vipralamba Kshetra. It is the place of separation. And Mahaprabhu came to relish the separation because Mahaprabhu wanted to understand the mood of Srimati Radharani, why she is always crying for me. As Krishna, I am not able to understand that. So let me take the mood of Radharani and I'll try to grasp the mood of Radharani. So therefore, he took that particular place, Nilachal Puri, where Krishna in his very unusual form called Lord Jagannath. That's very unusual form. Jagannath form, because usually Krishna is always two hand and threefold bend and with flute in hands. But only Jagannath form is in very extraordinary form, which is the condensed form of love. Condensed form of love is called Jagannath. When Krishna becomes very deeply engrossed in the love for Srimati Radharani, he becomes Jagannath. So therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted to release that mood. So he took up the finest place to understand that is Nilachal Puri. But we can go on saying about so many things about this, but we're keeping it short. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Pranam, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Manikal Prabhuji.
Hare
It was
Krishna.
wonderful.
Gopinath Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, there is a question in chat box. Gopal Gansham Prabhu asks, you have regular classes on Chaitanya Charitamrta online, either in Hindi or English? He's asking.
Regular classes are there under the guidance of His Grace Indra Krishna Prabhu and Rupini Radha Mataji, but that's in Bengali. I am not a very good Hindi speaker, and English, no, we don't have any regular classes. If someone arranges, then we can do, but I don't speak usually I don't have any English classes as of now. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. And before we conclude, Tulsi Prabhu, you're in call. Would you like to say a few words?
There are no words. I mean, really no words to describe. Manigopal Prabhu, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada.
Normally, I don't listen to the entire session in the evenings. I get busy and all that. But then today I heard the whole, though I was busy with some seva, but this nectar was pouring into my ears, and I was astonished, At a very young age, you grasped so much, in depth. about Chaitanya Charitamrtam, which is the highest philosophical nectar for us, beyond Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a PhD level study, and you've done that so nicely that can be very well seen. And I'm really grateful to you. And I was thinking, how did I miss so many years of listening to you?
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jai
Definitely, we look forward to listening Bhagavatam and Gita pravachans also from you. There are many who are not well versed with Chaitanya Charitamrita and the glorification of it. But Gita and Bhagavat, there are many in Damodar Desh, So I would request Jai Govind Prabhu to be in touch with Prabhuji and so that even Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam nectar can also come from him.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, thank you so much for your encouraging words, and it will help me to at least to make your words truthful. To make your words true. I will try my best to again go on reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. But whatever was flowed, as you said, it is all due to the mercy of my spiritual master and all the Vaishnavas here assembled. And after all, the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, who has written the unmatched purport of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which helped us to understand the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu perfectly. Otherwise, who would have given us this opportunity to dare to dive into the ocean of Chaitanya Charitamrita? So nectarian, actually. Thank you so much, Tulasi Prabhuji.
True, Prabhu. Whatever you said is 100% true. But the enthusiasm, and with the interest which you've shown, in presenting this, and that touches our heart. Hare Krishna.
Please bless me, Prabhu, so that I can really imbibe the mood of the dear devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one day in my life, I can relish a single drop of the vast ocean of Mahaprabhu's wonderful pastimes. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Jai.
Jai Shri Prabhu.
In the Krishna Prabhu, quick words from you. We don't want to hold Prabhu. Dear
Hare
devotees,
Krishna, thank
don't
you.
leave. We have again Gaur Kirtan after this. Okay. Over to you in the Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Manigopal Prabhu.
Hare
Such
Krishna.
beautiful presentation slides. Like it was nectar pouring through the eyes and the ears also. So kind of you, and we are fortunate to be having you in our regular Chaitanya class. We have the class for those who want, like I saw Gopal Ghanshyam Prabhu wanted to know about regular classes. So we have class 5 days a week, and His Grace Manigopal Prabhu is there on every Monday. But we have classes on 5 days a week. So, but that's in Bengali. But Chaitanya Bengali you can easily understand, even for those who don't know Bengali straight away. So I would request anybody, including Gopal Ghanshyam Prabhu, to get in touch with me. And you can join. We have the time, in same time, we have the program every 5 days a week. So I'm really thankful to Manigopal Prabhu. And now Manigopal Prabhu, you are known to many of Damodar's devotees. Initially, when you started, we are not known to us so much, but we now know you for more than a year. And now so many devotees know you through the overview. And so much thanking you, and really from the core of our heart, the way you present from your heart goes and straight goes into our hearts. So much thankful to you and kindness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarugase
Mancha kalpatarugase kripasinam bhavya Vaishnava.
Manigopal Prabhu ki jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Let me not forget to mention those who are aspiring to the initiation from His Holiness Devapataka Swami Guru Maharaj. You have to really have Manigopal with you. He is the one who is going to approve your interviews and your questionnaires and everything. Hare Krishna.
Not like that. By Guru Maharaj mercy, one will get initiation. Where am I to approve? Hare Krishna.
Right.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. I'll beg your leave, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, His Grace Manigopal Prabhu ki jai. Okay, dear devotees, now we request Vaishnavi to lead Gaur bhajans. Vaishnavi, over to you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Karuna Bahudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Bahudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Bahudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Shabhavatara Sharashiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda 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 Kevala Ananda Kanda Parama Karuna Bahudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Bahudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Bajo Bajo Bai Caitanya Nitai Sudrida Vishwasa Kori 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 Vishaya Chadiya Sera Se Majiya Muke Bolo Hari Hari Vishaya Chadiya Sera Se Majiya Muke Bolo Hari Hari Vishaya Chadiya Sera Se Majiya Muke Bolo Hari Hari Vishaya Chadiya Sera Se Majiya Muke Bolo Hari Hari Muke Bolo Hari Hari Muke Bolo Hari Hari Parama Karuna Bahudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Bahudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Deko Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Imuna Doyala Dhata Deko Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Imuna मालदाता देखो रे बाय त्रिभुवनेना यमुना दोयालदाता देखो रे बाय त्रिभुवनेना यमुना दोयालदाता पशु पाखी जुरे पाषाण वेदरे शुनि जान गुण गाता पशु पाखी जुरे पाषाण वेदरे शुनि जान गुण गाता पशु पाखी जुरे पाषाण वेदरे शुनि जान गुण गाता पशु पाखी जुरे पाषाण वेदरे शुनि जान गुण गाता परम करुणा बहुदुई जना निताय गौरचन्द्रा परम करुणा बहुदुई जना निताय गौरचन्द्रा संसारे माजिया रोहिली पोरिया से पदे नाही लो आशा संसारे माजिया रोहिली पोरिया से पदे नाही लो आशा संसारे माजिया रोहिली पोरिया से पदे नाही लो आशा संसारे माजिया रोहिली पोरिया से पदे नाही लो आशा आपण करमा बुंजाई क्षमा कहो ये लोचन दासा 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 परम करुणा बहुदुई जना निताय गौरचन्द्रा परम करुणा बहुदुई जना निताय गौरचन्द्रा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Parama Karuna Bahudurjana Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jai Gauratai.
Jai Lochandas Thakur ki jai. Thank you, Vaishnavi. That was an amazing kirtan. So after the wonderful nectarian lecture by Manigopal Prabhu, it's so pleasing to hear Gaur Bhajan, which was sung by you. Thank you so much. Thank you, devotees, for joining in. Next week is our final session. Please don't miss it out. Inform your friends and relatives, to join in more. And we'll be covering the Antya Leela next week, which will be final session of this 4 weeks seminar. Once again, thank you all for joining. And in case if any one of you need this Caitanya Charitamrta, either any language, any Indian languages, please stay in touch with our Rupanuga Prabhu. So, we will arrange either here, also we can send it to India. Please be in touch with us. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you, Indraprashna Prabhu, for arranging this wonderful program. And as usual, thank Shivala Prabhu for allowing us to conduct this program. Once again, thank you very much all. So, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrindi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So, with all your permission, so can we end the session? Tulsi Prabhu, Indra Krishna Prabhu, and also we thank Tulsi Vasant Prabhu for helping us in all the technical needs. Thank you very much.